My name is Alex, and when this happened, I was 25 and living alone for the first time. The house was an old 2-story with creaky floors, but it was my space, and I loved it. The first time it happened, I thought I was losing my mind. It started a few weeks after I moved in. I was a night owl, often working on my laptop until the early hours. At precisely 3:13 a.m., I would hear a single sharp knock on my front door. It wasn't a gentle tap. It was a firm, declarative rap, as if someone was delivering an urgent message. The first time, I jumped up and looked out the window. Nothing. The street was empty, the porch light illuminating only the empty space where a person should have been. I told myself it was the wind, a branch hitting the door, or maybe a prank. But it happened again the next night, and the night after that. The regularity of it was what got to me. I would check the clock, see the time approaching, and a cold dread would settle in my stomach. The moment the knock came, I would race to the door, throw it open, and be met with a silent, empty porch. I started losing sleep. I was constantly on edge, listening for that one distinct sound. It was always just one knock, never two, and always at the same time. My friends suggested it was a poltergeist, but I didn't believe in ghosts. I was a practical person. So, I bought a couple of motion-activated security cameras and set them up to record my front porch. I told myself that seeing the footage would prove it was just a random occurrence or a faulty lock. The next night, I stayed up, my eyes glued to the clock. 3:12 a.m., 3:13 a.m. The knock came. I checked the camera feed on my phone immediately. The video showed nothing. No one approached the door. No movement. No light. The knock just appeared. The terror was immense. The footage was irrefutable evidence that there was no one on the other side of my door. I was about to call my parents, pack my bags, and leave when I caught a flicker of something in the camera's reflection. I rewound the footage and paused it just as the knock happened. In the dark glass of the door's window reflecting my own living room, I saw something. A figure, dark and indistinct, standing directly behind the door on the inside. It was my own silhouette, but with its hand raised, mid-knock. The intruder wasn't on the outside trying to get in. It was already in. My name is Jamie, and I was 30 years old when I had to put my best friend down. My dog, a Labrador named Buddy, never barked at anything until that night. He was the calmest, most gentle dog I've ever known. He was getting on in years, and we spent most of our nights just relaxing in the living room. That night, around 1 a.m., I was watching a movie when Buddy suddenly got up, walked to the back door, and started barking. Not his usual happy yaps, but a deep, territorial growl I'd never heard from him before. He stood there, hackles raised, staring out into the darkness of the yard. I looked out the large glass door and saw a dark shape moving around the back of the house. It was a man, or at least it looked like one, wearing a dark hoodie. He was hunched over, almost on all fours, and he was staring directly at the door. I grabbed my phone, called 911, and whispered a quick explanation. Buddy kept barking, his growl getting more desperate. The dispatcher told me to stay calm, that police were on their way. I watched the figure from behind the curtain. It wasn't moving, just kneeling in the dark, watching my dog and me. After what felt like an eternity, I heard the faint sirens. The figure in the yard bolted into the darkness just as the patrol car pulled into my driveway. I met the 2 officers at the front door. They searched the yard and the perimeter of the house, but found nothing. No footprints, no signs of forced entry, no disturbed bushes. One of the officers, a kind-looking woman, patted Buddy on the head and said, "He's a good boy. Probably just a raccoon or something." I smiled, but I knew what I had seen. The next day, my elderly neighbor, Mrs. Gable, came over. She asked if I was okay, and I told her about the intruder. She just nodded sadly. "Oh, that's not good." "You know," she said, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper, "I saw a little boy playing in your yard last night, out by the rose bushes. I went to tell him to go home, but he was gone." A chill ran down my spine. The figure I had seen wasn't an adult at all. It was small, hunched, and almost on all fours. I felt a sudden, terrible pang of clarity. I had a younger brother, Leo, who had died when he was just 7. He had been chasing after a ball in the yard of my childhood home and had been hit by a car. I never told Mrs. Gable that I had a brother. The intruder was just my brother, and my poor Buddy, who never barked at anything, was trying to let him in. My name is Sarah. I was 22, and I'd just moved into a new apartment. The building was old, and the pipes often groaned, but the lease was cheap. The weirdest thing about it wasn't the sound of the footsteps, but the way the house went completely silent. It was late, maybe 1 a.m., and I was reading. Suddenly, I heard it, the distinct sound of footsteps in the hallway outside my door. I froze, my heart pounding in my chest. I told myself it was just a neighbor, but the footsteps weren't walking by. They were coming directly toward my door. They stopped. A chilling silence followed, broken only by the sound of my own ragged breathing. Then, a quiet, metallic scraping sound. It sounded like someone was trying to pick my lock. Terror gripped me. I scrambled for my phone and dialed 911, pressing it to my ear with a shaking hand. It was dead silent. I hung up and tried again. Still nothing. My phone had no signal. My landline was a rusty antique I never used, but I grabbed it anyway, dialing. A calm voice answered. 911. "What is your emergency?" I whispered. "Someone is trying to break into my apartment. They're at the door trying to pick the lock." The operator's voice was like a balm. "Okay, stay calm. Can you describe the sounds you hear?" I told him about the scraping. "Okay, I hear you," he said. "Listen to me. I need you to stay on the line, but I'm going to call my partner. We'll be there in a minute. We're on our way now." I could hear the operator's voice, and my terror was replaced by a small but potent feeling of relief. I listened to the scraping sound and the operator's quiet breathing and the silence in between. Then the scraping sound stopped. The operator spoke again. "It looks like they're gone now. Can you tell me what you see?" The door was still closed, but I felt a terrible premonition. The silence was absolute. "I don't see anything," I whispered. "That's good," the operator said, his voice just a little too calm. "It looks like they are not there anymore. But in case they come back, I am coming to you. We'll be there in a few moments." I heard the scrape again, this time on my end. I held my breath listening. The scraping wasn't coming from outside. It was a recorded sound. I looked down at my phone. The screen was dark, but a tiny green light blinked on the side. The landline was not connected to anything. The operator hadn't been speaking on the phone. The voice was coming from the other end of the door.